Welcome to The Aftermath. Today, we're going to be diving into the Arizona Cardinals versus the New Orleans Saints Week 1 matchup. Although an ugly win, it was a win nonetheless. The Arizona Cardinals leave New Orleans on their very first away game, which is a pretty massive win on its own. We're also going to be diving into the latest PFF grades for the Arizona Cardinals on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, which should hopefully paint a story as to what happened in New Orleans. Let's dive into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video. Definitely do me a huge favor, smack up that like button and subscribe for more Arizona Cardinals content. On this channel, we're covering the Arizona Cardinals news, breaking news, conversational pieces, everything surrounding your favorite team. So subscribe it up. It's absolutely for free. We are on the road to 18K. Cannot do it without you guys. And please don't be those guys who love to hover around the channel. Just subscribe it up. It's absolutely for free. I promise you. All right, guys, let's go and dive right into it. Let's talk about the aftermath of the Arizona Cardinals going over to the New Orleans Saints and coming out with a W, which, like I said, it's a win on its own. Getting your first away game under your belt, it's massive. It really, really is. Now, Jonathan Gannon came on and spoke to the media after giving us some updates on what happened with Joey Blount, as well as rookie linebacker Cody Simon. And unfortunately, they both had to leave the game due to concussions. Now, we don't really have an update outside of that, but usually that kind of means that they're going to be evaluated for some time, and I'm going to be real, just kind of really depending. I don't think we're going to see them in week 2. Obviously, it's just going to depend on the severity of what happened, but both these guys ended up getting hurt on the exact same play. I ended up seeing one guy go on the floor, and I believe it was Joey Blount, and I was like, oh man, there's somebody else to hit the floor as well. And later on, I come to find out that it's actually rookie linebacker and Cody Simon. So hopefully, prayers up, fingers crossed that they do get better. Obviously, I think Joey Blount's going to be the bigger impact if he's going to be missing games. He is a captain for the Cardinals in 2025, and he's a really, really good special team player. So we're going to be keeping our eyes on what's going on with these two players. But let's go and dive right into exactly what happened within the NFC West. As you all know, the NFC West is probably one of the toughest divisions in the entirety of the NFL, and it's going to be a tight race from here all the way to the end of the season. Now, let's go ahead and take a real quick look on exactly what happened around on Sunday, and this is exactly the results. We had the 49ers taking down the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm not gonna lie, this was a very, very exciting game from the start to the very end of 49ers versus the Seattle Seahawks. The 49ers end up coming out with the win, forcing a fumble from Sam Darnold and coming out with the win. The Arizona Cardinals obviously beating the New Orleans Saints, and then you got the Rams taking on and beating the Texans. So we got a 3-way split right now in terms of who's at the top of the division, but the 49ers do got the edge because they got a division win under their belt. So they're going to be at the very top, but rightfully so. It's all going to change within week 2, week 3, and it's just kind of all going to vary at the end of the day. So we're going to keep our very, very close eyes on the division because this is potentially the best way for the Cardinals to punch their ticket into their playoffs, right? Obviously, there's also the wild card as well, but we'll see. We'll see if there's going to be a lot of big changes within the NFC, but this is the latest update that we have within the NFC West. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about the PFF grades for the Arizona Cardinals offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. Now, I've said this before, PFF is not end all be all, and it's not, gods or anything like that, but it's cool to get a reference, right? It's cool to get people to actually provide grades and do the homework for you, essentially. So we're going to be diving into these grades that we have. Let me just do a real quick shout out here to Sleeper, the sponsors of the AZ Sports Fan here on YouTube. More on them a little later on. But let's first start off with the offensive side of the ball. I don't think there's very much surprise that Trey McBride and, Marvin Harrison Jr. are the top 3 PFF, offensive players. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. has. And now it's only one game sample size, so I'm not going to come out here and say he's him, right? Or he's the next Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, obviously that's what we want Marvin Harrison Jr. to become, but he's actually had a really, really fascinating and great game for the Cardinals. I believe he was like 6 receptions and 7 targets. And I remember that last target, that target that he didn't catch. It was very, very specific because that's when the Cardinals were pinned back and he was wide open. Marvin Harrison Jr. was wide open for a potential first down, and the ball just kind of sailed over his head, unfortunately. But Marvin Harrison Jr. had himself a game. PFF ranked him at 72.3 and the #1 offensive player for the Cardinals. And he just looked overall good, man. I'm really, really excited to see what he's going to do moving forward for the remaining of the season. Paris Johnson Jr. was the guy that was the best offensive lineman throughout the entirety of this offense. And I'm going to be real, the offensive side of the offensive line, like they struggled, man. They really, really struggled. So Paris Johnson as well as Froholt was probably the best two guys. But then after Michael Wilson, you got kind of a tie between, Evan Brown and Isaiah Adams, which looked good in training camp, but he struggled in this game. And then, of course, you got, Jonah Williams as well. So we're going to see if the Cardinals have a smaller leash on Jonah, because I remember when Kelvin Beachum was in, he actually played pretty solid. But because Jonah Williams was a big, free agent acquisition, they're probably kind of having him go through the bumps and bruises to be better. So we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. Trey McBride at 69.4 for the offense. So overall, really good. It looked really pretty awesome. Kyler Murray was listed as #5. And then we got James Conner at #6 down there. So these aren't really shocking to me. I can very well definitely see that as well. I don't think James Conner had a really good game. The best player that we had in terms of running the ball, I believe it was Trey Benson. Yeah, it was Trey Benson because he had one of those 50-yard run, and it was on a pitch out. He had a really good game, man. I'm excited to see what Trey Benson's going to do this year. But James Conner had a pretty solid game. I mean, obviously it could be better. Kyler Murray definitely wasn't our best offensive weapon yesterday. There was definitely some struggles that we're going to be watching a very specific play a little later on in terms of a miss. And this is kind of like, I'm not going to come in here with the purpose of saying, oh man, Kyler Murray is, not good. I'm coming into this approach with, here's an opportunity, right? Here's an opportunity for the Arizona Cardinals to get better, because once we can get this type of play that we're going to see a little later on, like, worked out, the Cardinals offensively will be a much better team, I promise you. So this is going to be the offensive side of the ball. No shock, right? Marvin Harrison Jr. Is a very, very good player, and I'm just excited to see what he's going to do in year 2. And then we got the defensive grades here, and this is a little bit of a shock to me because you got your rookie cornerback, which should have had an interception. This last game. He was ranked the highest out of all the team in PFF grades, 90.2. Good God. Then you got Dadrian Taylor Demerson. Akeem Davis Gaither actually did pretty solid. I think he had a pretty solid game. I was really hoping that the snap counts were released. I did not. Oh, actually, yeah, the snap counts are released. Perfect. Well, we're going to be looking at that as well. I'm actually very curious to see how Josh Sweat was utilized, because there was a lot of defensive line guys that were out of breath in this game. So we're going to look at the snap counts here as well. So let's first I'll talk about the PFF grades. So Will Johnson, that's kind of a shock to me, not because I didn't think he was capable, but I've said this myself multiple times. Cornerbacks struggle from year 1 from the collegiate level. They do. But hey, if we could have more of these type of games from Will Johnson, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. And then you got Budda Baker there at #4, Josh Sweat at #5. I mean, overall, per the PFF grades, he did solid, but I don't think I remember, mentioning Josh Sweat's name very much when we were talking about this game. Overall, I want to see a little bit more from Josh Sweat. There was only one player that got a sack, and it was Baron Browning. There was pressure. Jordan Burch almost got an opportunity to get a sack. Josh Sweat almost got an opportunity to get a sack. And it just, they couldn't bring them down, right? They couldn't bring up Spencer Rattler down, whether it was him stepping up or him just getting rid of the ball super, super quickly. So these are the PFF grades for the Arizona Cardinals. Let me just give a real quick shout out here to the sponsors. Sleeper. If this is your first time hearing about Sleeper, they have anything on there. You can play all sorts of games, real-time games during Sundays, Thursdays, and Mondays. You can create a amazing roster and potentially 100 times your money. Right now, if you use promo code AZSF, they will provide you with a 100% deposit match up to $100 on your initial deposit. So make sure you check out Sleeper using promo code AZSF as your promo code. Appreciate you guys, and everything will be in the description below of this video. All right, let's go ahead and do a real quick sharing of my screen here real quick so we can go ahead and look at the snap counts together for the Arizona Cardinals, because this is going to be kind of pretty fascinating, right? I want to see how the Cardinals were able to utilize a lot of these players that we have on this defensive side of the ball. So here we go. Shout out here to the football guys that put this out every Monday. Amazing. Kyler Murray, obviously quarterback, he's going to be 100% of the time. James Conner, 65%. Trey Benson, 33. This is kind of a little bit of a shock to me. I thought it would be more of a 60-40 split. So I'm not too far off, but we are seeing a lot of Trey Benson, Noah Amari DeMarcado. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. there with 89% on the field. Michael Wilson, 67%. Zay Jones, clearly wide receiver number 3 from Greg Dortch, and we did not see any Xavier Weaver. Trey McBride, 97% of the time. Tip Ryman over Elijah Higgins, which makes sense. We are a very, very run-heavy type of offense, and makes sense, right? Elijah Higgins is more of the playmaker type of guy, right? But we also got another tight end there that did show up here and there on a few different plays. Darius Robinson was on the field 56% of the time. I didn't really remember seeing him make a really big impactful play, if I'm going to be real. Dante Stills, 45%. Calais Campbell in the beginning was making some plays, specifically in the stopping the run. Dalvin Tomlinson, 33% of the time. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay. Josh Sweat, 63% of the time. Baron Browning, 53. Zaven Collins, 49%. LJ Collier, 39. And then you still got Jordan Birch, which I still remember very vividly. He could have brought down Spencer Rattler if he took a different angle. But just the small amount of snaps he's getting, I still do think he made a pretty big impact. Or I guess a minimal impact, but still a recognizable impact nonetheless. Mac Wilson Sr., obviously your number 1. Keem Davis Gaither, 37% of the snaps. Pretty interesting there. Owen Papu, didn't see him. Cody Simon, I think he's playing more special teams. He ended up getting hurt like we talked about earlier. Max Melton and Garrett Williams is going to be your number 1 and 2. And then when it's a nickel package out there, you are going to be seeing Will Johnson. So that's actually pretty exciting to see Garrett Williams, even when it's a kind of a base package, not your nickel defense out there. You're still seeing Garrett Williams out there, which is pretty cool to see. So he's out there 100% of the time, and Max Melton as well. Will Johnson, 60% of the time. So also take those PFF grades with I want to say with the grain of salt, but also take that into consideration. He was not playing 30 other snaps that these two guys were playing, right? Which could affect a specific grade. So there's that. Buda Baker, 100% of the time. Jalen Thompson, 100% of the time. Daedon Taylor Demerson, 67% of the time. And this is going to be how the football guys ended up ranking the Arizona Cardinals snap counts in this game. And now let's shift our attention on over to Kyler Murray and what he ended up doing in this game. Now, I want to give a shout out here to Kyler Murray. Obviously, one of the biggest knocks that he has on him is that he doesn't throw the ball in the middle of the field. This is going to be the next gen stats sheet that they end up putting out every Sunday nights, showing where Kyler Murray was targeting his guys, and there's a lot of up the middle. So this is pretty good, right? This is the next step that we're trying to see from Kyler. There's still some misses here and there, yeah, but he's working on it, right? He's getting to the level that we need him to be at. So it's really cool to see. Now, I do want to focus on the specific question that Kyler Murray gets asked by the media about him throwing the ball up the middle. Let's see what Kyler Murray had to say.
Passes over the middle. What does that say about the offense?
I guess I was going where I was supposed to with the ball. Had a tipped one on third down. I just again, there's a lot of things that I feel like we could do better. Didn't play our best game today, but we're leaving with a win.
Let's talk about this specific play that I ended up dissecting, the All-22 film. And we saw a few different plays like this. Now, we're not going to make a big deal about this. Biggest reason as to why is because the Cardinals won, right? And I think it's very, very important to note that when the Cardinals win, a lot of these things, like these specific plays, they kind of go under the radar because when you win, you're exciting, are excited. You don't really want to go to the, the nooks and crannies or the bolts and the nuts and the bolts because you won, right? But I really want to go ahead and highlight the specific play that I ended up seeing on the All-22 film. And now this was on the first quarter. And I remember before this play happened, they were in this very same formation and they got a false start on them. So they came back in this exact same formation that you're seeing now. Marvin Harrison Jr. is at the very top of your screen. The marker kind of misses him up there, but that is Marvin Harrison Jr. up there. But I want to go ahead and take a real quick look at the specific play because I feel like if Kyler Murray can get these type of plays down, this offense can flourish so much better, right? So we're going to play it here. Now, we're going to pause it every once in a while. Obviously, due to Big Brother, we're going to try to avoid any, CNR. So here we go. Ball snap. Kyler Murray drops back. Now, on this side, you do see Trey McBride, right? I think Trey McBride ends up peeling out. You see another, I believe this is Tip Ryman, peels out this way. And then you see Marvin Harrison Jr. going up here. Now, it seems like it's a cover 2 on one side because I believe this is Michael Wilson. You don't see him on this frame, but he gets taken, like the cornerback goes with him. Now, this cornerback gets sucked in to whatever, I believe this is Tip Ryman coming out here. But look how open Marvin Harrison Jr. is right here. Boom, I'm just going to pause it right there. See? This cornerback is looking here. He's going to protect the flat. And Marvin Harrison Jr. goes this way. Now, we're going to see a different angle where Kyler Murray is only looking on this side of the field. This is your number 1 wide receiver up here, right? In Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's continue to play. Now, we've already went 2 seconds. Look at this big separation. Kyler Murray's still looking either here or in the middle of the field. Maybe for this guy to kind of come up and get set. But look at this big hole that Marvin Harrison Jr. is sitting there right there, right? Now, we're going to play a little bit more. And boom, I played another second. And now look how much space between this guy that's in the flat and the safety. Now, Kyler Murray, you can see right here, he's going to decide to already run, right? He's running, right? He's running. Marvin Harrison Jr. is still open. So, boom. Still open. Now, he does pump fake like he's going to throw it to Marvin. You could see better in a different angle that I have. Now, I'm pausing it every once in a while because of, CNR reasons. And then he slides. Now, this play was not a big deal because Kyler Murray made a positive play, right? If this was a negative play, or if Kyler Murray took a sack, or if Kyler Murray threw the ball away, this might have been a bigger deal than it actually was. But I want Marvin Harrison Jr. to be a 1 or 2 option for you, right? Now, of course, you got to go through your progressions. I'm fully aware. I think the progressions was on this side of the where Trey McBride was. Right now, this is the different angle of it. Kyler Murray snaps the ball, right? So play action. We got Trey McBride going behind the head of Kyler, and I got all these things on the screen to avoid what I've been saying before. So Kyler Murray's still looking on this side of the field. There's no look on the other side where Marvin Harrison Jr. is at, which is your number 1 wide receiver, right? Because your other wide receivers, they all got an accumulation of 1 reception each in less than 10 yards, like combined. So I just don't get why the look isn't going to Marv. Then this is when he decides to go, right? This is when he decides to go, when he realized that Trey was covered, and I believe Michael Wilson was the other wide receiver on the other side. He's going, he pump fakes kind of quickly, but then takes the ball in his own hands and just slides. But this was a play here that could have been made. And this is a play that you actually see a lot in these games when you break down the film, right? When you're watching football on Sundays, you're only able to see where the camera takes you, right? So it's not that big of a deal. Now, Kyler Murray did get yardage under his belt. So we're not going to come out here and say, oh, this was a disaster play, you should have done this. But this just is an opportunity, right? To kind of show that there's plays to be made to make our offensive side of the ball more explosive, right? Our explosive, plays a lot more explosive. I hope that Jonathan Gannon and the coaching staff shows Kyler Murray this, because it's very, very important that wide receiver number 1 for you guys gets a look when he should be getting looks. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts, right? Let me know in the comments below. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, we're going to be closing up shop right here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, go Cardinals.